studios now. Let's stay with a story on the cost of living, where the Consumers Body, or the Consumers Federation of Kenya, has criticized the state's move to replenish national grain reserves with an additional 3.7 billion meant to buy at least 1 million bags of maize. COFEC says extension of the subsidy to millers does not benefit the intended tens of millions of poor Kenyans who are worst hit by the current food crisis. Now, the body says the government is spending billions addressing the symptoms of the crisis without offering any long-term solutions. Allocation of 3.7 billion shillings by Treasury through a supplementary budget is an addition to an earlier 6 billion shillings that saw a 2 kilogram of maize flour go for 90 shillings low from a high average of 180 Kenya shillings. Let's now speak to the Secretary General of the Consumer Federation of Kenya. He's joining us live. Thank you for speaking to us here on KTN News Desk, Bonam Toro. These are very grave allegations you have against the government. What really are the concerns you have?
Thank you, Akisa. They are not real allegations. I think these are facts. The concern that Kenyan consumers are having at the moment is that we are putting in a lot more money over other big money, but we're not seeing the value for that money. And it's basics, We cannot see this kind of flour at different, outlets and retail. So the concern is, why can't the government shop for maize and allow millers, to buy enough maize so they can be able to, millers can be able to provide the services they have been doing all along. So that our concern is that we are spending more money, 3.7 billion, but we are not being told where the money is going, because we are seeing unscrupulous business people turning into repackaging the same maize and doing all manner of things that are not good. I mean, we are saying if the subsidy does not be able to get to the people who are targeted, then it's as good as being useless,
Well, this is definitely an additional to the 6 billion shillings that was given out for the subsidies to 90 shillings for a 2 kilogram packet of unga. And a story we just ran shows that this unga is nowhere to be found anymore. So what are we saying as a COFEC?
Exactly. We would like to be a bit moderate, but obviously this sounds like a scandal of monumental values that we have not accounted for the 6 billion, but in another less than a week, we are spending 3.7 billion, but we cannot be able to see this unga. The question you're asking, why should we spend more good money after bad money? And basically, we need to go to the basics, and the basics are such that the minister and the government must be able to take up a new model, because the cartels are making nonsense of the subsidy program.
COFEC says that the government is addressing symptoms as opposed to giving Kenyans long-term solutions. As COFEC, what would you advise?
What I would advise is that the market forces of supply and demand, once they're at play, will have no problem. What essentially we're talking about is that we're having unscrupulous people hoarding a problem. You remember, they recall there was a threat about fining, which never worked, fining $1 million bob anybody who was selling over and above the price. What the unscrupulous cartels did was to make sure that the commodity is completely unavailable in the open market. So you can only get in the black market. People are repackaging the maize flour. So the long-term solution is this: government must actually make disclosures about what is in the strategic grain reserves, so that we can only beef up what's in the grain reserves. We need to track this maize, because nobody's tracking the maize. We do not know who actually is dispersing what quantity of maize to whom and where exactly. We hear when it's being bought, but we do not know who is the end user of this particular subsidized unga. Our concern is there's a lot of secrecy, a lot of mystery that's necessary. So if government really means beyond PR, then we need to be told how much bags we're buying, whom we are selling to, and all millers should actually be able to access this maize so that millers can do what they're supposed to do. Basically, that's what we're saying.
All right, Stephen, thank you for joining us. That is the Secretary General of the Consumers Federation of Kenya, Stephen Mutoro, with concerns there on how the state is now giving an additional 3.7 billion shillings for subsidy on maize on top of the 6 billion that was released earlier on. And of course, that was Stephen Mutoro, the Secretary General.